Oh, we have a surprise. Oh, Nancy. Who is this Nancy we're talking about? Oh my God. Is that Nancy Rommelmann? Our friend. I was going to pretend, Nancy, that I didn't know who you were. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have not only the guest of Andrew Sullivan, we have Smoke 'em If You Got 'em's Nancy Rommelmann, one of the great
Oh,
magazine writers of her generation. Nancy, how the hell are you?
thank you, Michael, coming from you from where you recorded for 3 years, as
There
you
you
remember
go.
well. I wanted to just, first of all, what you guys were talking about, we can blame Jill Biden. We can blame the Biden administration for shielding us from what many of us were reporting that he was not able
Yeah.
to do his job. I have a story that ran in Real Clear Investigations today, which I talked to the whistleblowers at the IRS who had for years, starting in 2018, had tried to expose Hunter Biden and what he had done and how, in fact, the IRS was working against them because of course, now Biden was president, they wanted to slow roll it. What I found there is that in the past administration, and I think the ones we knew before, they sort of used subterfuge, things that we were used to. We expected the government to be doing things behind the curtain, etc. We are now in a different world
Yeah.
where we have King Donald just says, okay, no, here, executive order, doing things just that he should not have the right to be doing and doing them badly. So I actually do have a question for you, and I know we talk about this personally. We've lived in a fever for the past 6, 8, 12 years since Trump came on the scene. Blood sport,
Yeah.
doing all these things. When does this fever break? When are there going to, I mean, we see a little bit of it. We see the Rand Pauls, we see the Thomas Masseys, we see the John Fettermans, we see people like us willing to talk about things. Can we get to a point where people are like, oh man, how did we get here? How did I add to this? And how do we stop it?
Nancy, that's what our mutual friend Matt Welch would call the French goodbye. The most difficult question of all. Well, I'll tell you one thing that makes me kind of disheartened by it is I'm sure you know this and have seen it too. The number of people in the very lucrative MAGA universe, and that's one of the problems. There would have been no lucrative Mitt Romney universe, right? You can't go out. There wouldn't have been you printing money because we're sycophants of Mitt Romney. It's just a different
Right.
world. You have a performer, you have this brand, you have this cult leader in this way. And the thing that you notice about all of these people, and I mentioned it on the show today, and also on the Fifth Column, which everyone should listen to, that anybody who criticizes Donald Trump's tariffs in the most mild way prefaces it with some sort of sycophantic comment. And if anybody wants to watch this, it happened today, and I got a brief look at it. Marco Rubio in the White House with Donald Trump giving a North Korean oration about this man, little Marco, right? This is the man who's been insulted, has so many policy differences, had denounced tariffs, and is sitting there. And the great thing about it actually is Trump is not even twitching. He's loving it, but not smiling. He's just loving the fact that it's happening. So like this kind of stuff, all the impressions that people are doing, I think are really bad. It really stresses me out because all the people in Congress who now talk like Donald Trump, who give nicknames like Donald Trump, suggest to me that they believe that the way to the hearts of the American voter is not, and they might be right about this, is not through talking about tax cuts and free markets and things like that. It's to act like this guy and act like a king and act like, and just insult people like that strain in American politics. I thought would probably die with Donald Trump, keeping in mind he's an old guy. But I think there's so many people like, why JD Vance never talked like that, even when his politics changed. JD Vance was like a neocon kind of guy, but his politics changed. Fine. Fine. If you want to be more populist, fine. But the language changed. The way he tweets changed. Everyone is doing that impression. And my fear is that it's not going to go away. But I'll tell you what, if there would be a silver lining in any of this stuff, and I see none, is that this is going to be electoral poison for the Republicans.
Yes.
Because they're saying they're going to save
Yeah.
Main Street. What is going to happen in Main Street? Prices are going to go up and people are going to be, no factories are going to come home, all that stuff.
I think there's a lot of amateur hour stuff going on. Even you can see today what
Yeah.
ICE tweeted with their, their clip art, we're gonna do that. They pulled it down because they're putting out things that people don't really like. I know, and we know from talking to our friend Peter Meyer and other people that during the first administration, people were like, yeah, we love Trump, but the behind the scenes are like, oh my God, we can't stand this guy, he's a moron. I don't know what's happening now behind the scenes, but I do know, and I think you know too, that if you start hitting people in their pocketbooks like you did with the tariffs, people are going to start getting their constituents coming up and going, what the fuck, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So I have a little faith. I have some faith in the American people
I do
that they're going to
too.
look out for their best interests, and they're
Yeah.
not going to keep lapping up the toilet water just because, King Donald wanted it. So
I just fear that things have to get very bad before they get better. Nancy
Yeah.
Rommelmann,
Yeah.
love
Thanks,
you.
Michael. Love you
And
too.
we'll talk to you soon.
Yep.